Hi, everyone. I'm going to get started um, as it relates to this particular lesson. This lesson has a demo component. Uh, it requires you to put up your survey on SurveyMonkey. How many of you received an email from Dr. Egan about the login information and whatnot for SurveyMonkey?
I did.
You did. Okay. So you have login information. You just have to create your survey. Now, Amanda, did you get IRB approval yet?
I had to make just like a couple of like little changes. I actually sent her like my final like adjustments yesterday, like yesterday morning.
Can
I
you
should be,
forward, can you forward me that email? Because I don't have any record of that.
yeah, I actually sent it to you on the Outlook email, but I don't know if you got it. But
I
I'll send it again.
definitely didn't. But the reason why I say this is you cannot start anyone who doesn't have IRB approval, not you in particular, but nobody can start data collection until they have IRB approval.
Hmm.
Right? So even for those of you who have IRB approval, you can get started as soon as we're done this demo. And in fact, by the end of this demo, if you have your survey, you could start sharing your link. Now, the other thing that needs to be done is to import it into Sona systems so you can access the research pool. But so this lesson, I'm just going to do a quick demo, and then I'm going to have you start to do your survey. So let me share my screen. By the way, I'm recording this just in case you want to have access to it at a later point. I think that's important to say because it could be, it makes sense now, but may not make sense later.
I have
So,
a question.
yes, go ahead.
Would it be uploaded on Canvas?
Yes.
The record? Okay.
So that's a good question. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can see.
Okay, good. So this is a standard screen when you log into SurveyMonkey, right? And then really what it comes down to is creating a survey. Now, does anyone see a button on this screen that says create survey?
Yes.
Where is it?
It's on the upper right corner.
That's right. So now that's the first thing you want to do. You want to click create survey. And when you do that, a new screen is going to come up, and then it gives you options whether you want to have SurveyMonkey build it for you, whether you want to use a template, or whether you want to start from scratch. My recommendations for you is to click start from scratch. So I'm going to do that now. And it says creating survey. All right. So now what do we have? We have something called untitled survey, which is fine. We will eventually create a title for this. So we're going to do plus page title, right? Or add page title in this context. So what do you think the first page of your survey is going to be?
It's the name of the research, right?
Well, this is the name of the page. It could be, now keep in mind, this is page 1 of it. So the general name of it, where it says top right, untitled survey, that's going to be the name of your study. But the page title that I'm talking about, what's the first page of your survey?
The consent form.
Exactly. Now, so we're going to write consent form. Now, why is that so important that the consent form be your first page?
So if they don't complete the consent form, then they can't technically complete the survey.
That's correct, right? So from an ethics point of view, you cannot have a person start your survey or be part of your survey unless they agree. So I'm going to click save here. So now I have my first page that says consent form. Now you see where it says untitled survey. This was what Agnes was talking about. We might want to call this title of the survey. Whatever your title of the survey is, that'll be there. So now, the first thing you're going to want to do is start to write out the questions related to your consent form. Now, what's the most important item you're going to have at the bottom of your consent form? It's going to be some acknowledgement that the person has read the information and that they agree to participate. So let's write that catch-all phrase. I have read the above information. Sorry, I can't say. I've read the above information and agree, and consent, I probably should use, and consent to participate in the study. All right, cool. So now we have that. That's your first question. What you're going to do after you do that is it gives you options. So the answer genius is going to say, well, do you want to select the type, right? So right now you could select different options, yes, no, but the answer genius gives you the option of selecting yes, no. So I just did that to make it simple. So that's going to be the response options for that. Does that make sense? So I'm going to click save. And what's going to happen is you're going to have, on your consent form, you're going to have the statement that they agree to participate. Now, you want to click options. Now, in order for you to know that everybody who responds to this survey agreed to participate, you're going to want to click options and click require an answer to this question. So long story short is they can't move any further until they answer this question. Does this make sense so far? Yes?
Yeah.
No? All right. So now the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add the consent form. So what you're going to do is you're going to do new question. Actually, I should show you where it is. So you see under the response options or the question, you have new question. So you're going to want new question and you're going to want to click text. Now, the text you're going to have here is actually, you're going to want to insert the actual consent form. All right, so I'm going to click save there. And now I've done that, but I can also take that information and drag it above. So before I move on, I want to make sure that it's clear what we've done here. We've titled the survey. We've created a first page. It's your consent form. You've created your first question, which is yes, no, which is whether they agree to participate or not. And then you're going to create where it says new question, that arrow. you're going to create a text box and then drag it above the actual question. And in that text box, you're going to include your actual consent form. Does this make sense so far? Yes, no?
Yeah, makes
Yes.
sense.
Okay, all right. So, what's the next step we want to do? Anyone have an idea? Sorry, the cats are going crazy over here. Get out of here, stop it. What's the next thing you think we're going to want to do?
I think you have to add your questions now.
Now it's time to start creating questions, right? So, will we want to have it all on the same page, or do we want to start creating new pages?
It should be different pages.
Correct, right? So you're gonna want to have a whole new page. So you're gonna see at the bottom of the status bar where it says 0 of 1 question answered, there's a plus button, which gives you the option to add a new page. So now you'll notice that this is page 2. And what you're going to do is whatever your first questionnaire is, it's going to be on its own page. All right, questionnaire. All right, so now this is going to be your first questionnaire. And again, in this context, you want to use abbreviations because you don't want people to know your hypothesis, right? So if I would say depression and anxiety scale, someone would know what I'm looking for. So you might use an abbreviation to address that point, right? So in this case, if I were using depression and anxiety scale, I would do something like DAS. Now, DAS could mean anything, but it doesn't give the reader what you're actually looking for. Does that make sense? So far, so good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now I have the title. I'm going to click Save. So we're going to call that questionnaire 1 or DAS, right? Whatever you want to do. And now we've labeled it. Now we want to click New Question. So typically, the surveys that you're going to be using are Likert scale questions, right? So when you have Likert scale, it's on a spectrum. So you're going to want to go to the matrix or rating scale option. So right now it's multiple choice, but if you click that triangle on the right, it gives you options, right? Can everyone see on the right side it says matrix rating scale?
Yes.
So I'm going to click that. And you also want to, so it's not a grid and it avoids problems in SPSS, you're going to want to make it a single row. So whatever your question is, make it a single row. And here we go. I'm going to make some random question. I like ice cream, right? So here we have a question that says, I like ice cream. Now, what questions are you going to put? These are the questions from the instruments you picked last semester. So one option would be strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, and then strongly disagree. All right. So now I've created a question. So I like ice cream is my first question. Now, why did I do it individually? So that each question is separated from one another. Does that make sense? So far, so good? Or is everybody with me?
Yes.
Now, but once you've done that, you can copy a question. So let's do copy. Wait, hold on. Let's duplicate the question. Options. No, it's not letting me duplicate it. No. All right. So this is a little bit frustrating, but you should be able to duplicate the question, and I'm drawing a blank on where it is right now. But let's see, copy question. There it is. Okay. So it doesn't have the word duplicate, it just copy. So click copy and then copy question, and then it makes the same one. Now, obviously, not all of your questions are like, I like ice cream. Well, if this was a dessert survey, this might say, I like, I don't know, cake, right? So now we're saving that, and now we don't have to re-enter all the response options, right? So did you notice that I didn't have to type out strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, and strongly disagree? All I did is have to edit the prompt. So that's going to be useful in saving time for you when you're doing your surveys. So now what we've covered is the consent form, how to do a new page for a questionnaire, how to create your rating scales for individual questions within that questionnaire, how to duplicate a question within a questionnaire, and then now we might have additional pages. So now you see under the response bar, I had to scroll up. If you have an additional survey that you want to add, and many of you have multiple instruments, you're going to add new page. So now you're going to have a new page in addition to the QAS, if it were to go. And then you'll duplicate that over and over and over until you get to the end. So now we have this new page, QAS1, but really that's not QAS1 because the questions for QAS1 are below. So here, what you can do is, once again, add a new question. And you do the same thing, rinse, wash, and repeat. Now, that's just me being a little bit cheeky, but that's, what you would continue to do with all of your questionnaires. And then at the end, once you have all of your questions, let me just click save. Once you have all your questions done, you're going to need to add your debriefing form if you had a debriefing form, right? So that would be the same thing with add new page, and then make sure the page is a text, and then add a question underneath it. All right. Now, once you're done everything with your survey, there's one thing we didn't do. And the reason why I do it is because it allows for you to build out your survey first and focus on that. But once the survey is complete, I want you to go back to your consent form, right? Okay, so page 1, consent form. So, all right, so at this point, you're back to, I have read the information and consent to participate. Now what you're gonna do, you're you're going to do a logic tree. So basically, this is how you separate out the data from the people who are legitimate participants versus people who actually didn't want to participate. Because if you don't use logic, if a person clicks no, they'll still go through your survey, and that's not what you want. So let's do logic. So if yes, then they should go to page 2, right? So that should make sense, right? Because they're going to go to the questionnaires. What if they said, no, I don't want to participate? Then they should go to a disqualification page. And long story short, that's going to say, thank you for your participation, and it's going to bump them out of the survey. Partial data with people who click no and think that you're actually getting data. So now that I've done the logic, I'm going to click save, and that will allow us to filter out our participants. Any questions there? So that's our very, very brief video and training. Now I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to send it to the cloud.